Well, it all depends on the definitions. I mean, there are many kinds of gods, and people understand very different things by the word religion. If you think about God, so usually people have two extremely different gods in mind when they say the word God. One God is the cosmic mystery. We don't understand why there is something rather than nothing, why the Big Bang happened, what is human consciousness. There are many things we don't understand about the world, and some people choose to call these mysteries by the name of God. God is the reason there is something rather than nothing. God is behind human consciousness. But the most characteristic thing of that God is that we know absolutely nothing about him, her, it, they. There is nothing concrete. It's a mystery. And this is kind of the God we talk about when late at night in the desert we sit around a campfire and we think about the meaning of life. That's one kind of God. I have no problem at all with this God. I like it very much. Then there is another God, which is the petty lawgiver. The chief characteristic of this God, we know a lot of extremely concrete things about that God. We know what he thinks about female dress code, what kind of dresses he likes women to wear. We know what he thinks about sexuality. We know what he thinks about food, about politics, and we know like these tiny little things. And this is the God people talk about when they stand around burning a heretic. We burn you because you did something that this God, we know everything about this God, and he doesn't like it that you do this, so we burn you. And it's like, it's like a magic trick that when you come and talk about God, so how do you know that God exists and so forth, people would say, well, the Big Bang and human consciousness and science can't explain this and science can't explain that. And then, and this is true. And then like a magician, swapping one card for another, they will take out the mystery God and place the petty lawgiver, and you end up with something strange like, because we don't understand the Big Bang, women must dress with long sleeves and men shouldn't have sex together. And what's the connection? I mean, how did you get from here to there? So I prefer to use different terms here. And it's the same with religion. People understand very different things with this word. I tend to separate religions from spirituality. Spirituality is about questions. Religion is about answers. Spirituality is when you have some big question about life, like what is humanity? What is the good? Who am I?
Yeah,
These kinds of
purpose
questions.
in life, like why am I here?
And what should I do in life? And this is kind of, and you go on a quest, looking deeply into these questions, and you're willing to go after these questions wherever they take you.
You could just Google it.
Yeah, maybe in the future, but so far, in at least some of these questions, I think when you type like, what is the meaning of life, you get 42. Like as a #1 result in the Google search. So you go on a spiritual quest. And religion is the exact opposite. Religion is somebody comes and telling you, this is the answer, you must believe it. If you don't believe this answer, then you will burn in hell after you die, or we'll burn you here, even before you die. And it's really opposite things. Now, I think that at the present moment in history, spirituality is probably more important than in any previous time in history. Because we are now forced to confront spiritual questions, whether we like it or not.
And do you think that confrontation with those questions, that will inform how we allow technology to develop and be deployed?
Exactly. Now, throughout history, you always had a small minority of people who was very interested in the big spiritual and philosophical questions of life, and most people just ignored them and went along with their, fighting about who owns this land and then this goat herd to whom it belongs and so forth. Now we live in a very unique time in history when engineers must tackle spiritual questions. If you are building a self-driving car, by force, you have to deal with questions like free will. By force, you have to deal with this, the example everybody gives, the self-driving car, suddenly two kids running after a ball, jump in front of the car. The only way to save the two kids is to swerve to the side and fall off a cliff and kill the owner of the car who is asleep in the backseat. What should the car do? Now, philosophers have been arguing about these questions for thousands of years with very little impact on human life. Now, but engineers are not like, they are very impatient. If you want to put the self-driving car on the road tomorrow or next year,
right.
You need to tell the algorithm what to do. And the amazing thing about this question now is that whatever you decide, this will actually happen. Previously, with philosophical discussions, like you had, I don't know, Kant and Schopenhauer and Mill discussing this issue, should I kill the two kids or should I sacrifice my life? And even if they reach an agreement, that had very little impact on actual behavior, because even if you agree theoretically this is the right thing to do, at a time of crisis, philosophy has little power. You react from your gut, not from your philosophical theories. But with a self-driving car, if you program the algorithm to kill the driver, and not the driver, the owner of the car, and not the two kids, you have a guarantee, a mathematical guarantee, that this is exactly what the car will do. So you have to think far more carefully than ever before, what is the right answer? So in this sense, very old spiritual and philosophical questions are now practical questions of engineering which you cannot escape if you want, for example, to put a self-driving car on the road.
I want to